Hey, what's up MMA fans, it's MMA Headspace here, and today I'm going to be looking at what would actually happen if Anthony Smith won against Jon Jones at UFC 235. Now, the general consensus is that Anthony only has a pictogram of a chance against undisputed, reigning light heavyweight champion of the world. But what if he actually pulled it off? Well, before we jump into the aftermath, let's have a look at what history tells us. In the history of the MMA, there have always been unprecedented upsets since the sport was born. And it's no surprise to us that we have seen some amazing results over the course of UFC's history.
Hey, I'm not surprised.
These types of fights make the fans question what is the most effective martial art, who is the greatest of all time, and sometimes leaving the fans with a bad taste in their mouths saying it was just plain luck. However, like it or not, these are the fights that make the sport so exciting, when a fighter is written off before the gloves are even touched, and then a huge knockout or submission will take place and silence the crowd, and sometimes change the public opinion on a fighter forever. A quick-fire recap of some of the biggest upsets in UFC history would be Matt Serra vs GSP, Rose Namajunas vs Joanna Jędrzejczyk, or Ronda Rousey vs Holly Holm. As you guys can see, history does tend to repeat itself in MMA, and the question we are going to be asking today is what would happen to the UFC light heavyweight division if Anthony Smith were to shock the world at UFC 235.
Well, fighting business is like the stock market.
With a win over the likes of Jon Jones, who many fans consider to be the greatest of all time, apart from the Chernobyl incidents, Anthony Smith's stock value in the UFC would increase extraordinarily, whilst Jon Jones' stock value would decrease, with a lot of fans probably saying that he can't win without the use of steroids. Anthony Smith could expect a significant pay rise and a bonus from the UFC for a brilliant performance against somebody that he was never meant to beat. This would mean that we would get an influx of fighters in the light heavyweight division calling out Anthony Smith for a fight, and making their case explaining why they deserve a title shot, probably through the platform that we all know and love, Twitter. The likes of Gustafsson, Özdemir, Thiago Santos would all be calling for their turn at the shot for the title.
It sucks, I want to come back and rematch, of course. Listen, right now, it's DC's day. Good for him.
If Smith did beat Jon Jones, then the most likely case would be that a rematch would be made between the two fighters. With Anthony Smith as the new champion, Dana's eyes would light up at the prospect of making huge pay-per-view numbers by making that second fight with Smith and Jones. And why wouldn't you? In the history of the UFC, this has happened time and time again. GSP eventually lost to Matt Serra in the rematch. Rose beat Joanna in the rematch, again by decision. So it has been proven that if an upset has been pulled off, then the fans will definitely get behind the rematch. There is nothing more exciting than seeing if a fighter that was a long-standing champion can make adjustments to their game, come back from adversity and beat the fighter that caused you a huge upset in the first place. Or to see if the win was just luck on the night. Or lastly, if a fighter who can cause the upset can cement themselves as a champion of that division by defeating the former champion twice consecutively. In most cases of rematches, we usually see the same result, where one fighter just has the stylistic matchup to defeat the other. They have their number. So if Anthony Smith did defeat Jon Jones in the first fight in a dominant fashion, then we might expect to see a similar result the second time round. With Anthony Smith cementing himself at the top of the food chain, this could cause a lot of controversy and spark new matches to be made up after the rematch too.
Fight at heavyweight, I think it would take some serious convincing.
Another thing that could happen if Anthony Smith wins the fight against Jon Jones is that we could see Jon Jones make a move up to heavyweight division to fight Daniel Cormier for a third time to try his luck at the heavyweight title whilst awaiting for his rematch with Anthony Smith. This could be somewhat of a safe bet for Jon Jones to get another high profile win under his belt to get his stock value back up against a fighter who he has already arguably beat twice in the UFC. If Jon Jones beat Daniel Cormier for the heavyweight title, then this could lead to the UFC creating yet another champion versus champion super fight in Anthony Smith versus Jon Jones 2, which could certainly get a lot of traction and pay-per-view buys, as if there is one thing that the fans like to see more than a rematch, it's a rematch between two champions. It's very unlikely for events to unfold in this way, but still a totally intriguing and possible idea to explore. With a record of 32-13, with a win over Jon Jones, Anthony Smith could just ride off into the sunset as the only man who has defeated Jon Jones after a long career in mixed martial arts. This would leave Anthony in a legendary status and he could start beginning his second career in UFC commentary or as an MMA analyst or simply just kicking it back by the pool, drinking cocktails and laughing about that time that he robbed Jon Jones. In this case, the title would be left vacant and most likely be given back to Jon Jones, who might have to earn it in a decider fight against another top contender. However, it could be the start of a decline for Jon Jones after one significant loss to an up-and-coming fighter, and we could even see Daniel Cormier come down from heavyweight to fight Jon Jones for the vacant title. Either way, it would bring the spotlight on a sometimes stagnant light heavyweight division, with new upcoming fighters like Johnny Walker trying to make a run at the title after a few wins in the UFC. This could be great for the fans, as we'd be interested to see who comes out on top amidst all the chaos in the division.
That's how you overcome things. That's how you put yourself out there. You believe it, and you achieve it.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Shut the fuck out of that. Hey. So, what? You got something to say? Finish your sentence. You said, hey.
Lastly, one thing that could happen is former middleweight champion Luke Rockhold could move up to light heavyweight to challenge for the title against Anthony Smith. During the build-up to the Jones fight, Luke has announced that Lionheart doesn't have a chance against the likes of Jon Jones, and Smith has gone on the Believe You Me podcast with Michael Bisping to talk about Luke Rockhold and explain his thoughts on the situation. Luke Rockhold is, however, coming off a big KO loss to Yoel Romero where his chin got shattered, so we'll have to see what happens in the future. So guys, these were 5 things that could happen if Anthony Smith wins against Jon Jones at UFC 235. I hope you enjoyed, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. And remember to sub for more content if you haven't already and you got this far in the video. I've been MMA Headspace, you've been amazing, and as always, peace out.